The 10 best professional drone racing teams in the world are here. It's the Drone Champions League. I'm Matt Andrews and welcome to race day 11 of our first split season for 2023. A lot more races to go before we find out who our top 6 teams are going to be. At the end of our 18-week season, we will take those top 6 to our live finals. The teams 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th will go into the main round, but the teams in 5th and 6th, they start in the elimination zone. If you lose a race from there, you are out of the tournament. You won't be the split champion. And the season is looking very, very tightly contested as to who are going to get those 6 spots. Every matchup between our teams, as we're going to show you today, is a duel of a best of 7. We start off with a 1v1, then 2 pilots versus 2. The other 2 pilots of each team race each other in race 3, and then everyone races in race 4. And then we continue with 2v2s and a 1v1 if we get that far. There are 10 teams in the DCL, as I said. The top 5 are the ones we know very well from previous seasons. The bottom 5 joined us for the first time this year. And the best of those currently, Cyclone Racing, who are on 6th place of our leaderboard. That's the last spot that can make it to the split finals. Above them, PERPETUUMCOIN, our team from Spain, and they're the ones racing today. Spain drone team, PERPETUUMCOIN with Shrimpy Boy, Silvio, Danube, and HYG out of Korea. And they're racing up against Cyclone Racing. They've brought in the Ice Cheetah, Paco, J-Box, and Zion. And these teams met earlier in the season. STT won that 4 points to 3. So it's rematch time. This time, they're going to be flying around our fictional location of Oil Bando, USA. Bando flying is when you fly through and around an abandoned building. We're going to get to some of that here in our works. There's the train that you climb over through those 2 pylons, and there's a couple of straights in this track, unusually. Here's a right-hand turn. Then you nip through here and do a split S, come out through the lower section, into the tunnel, the trench run tunnel as we know it, then round this pylon and this one, and now you head up to this incredible structure, and the routes pilots take around and through this is something to be seen. You've got to do 2 entire revolutions around it, heading downwards each time. These 4 Torval gates are the start of the 2nd long straight that I mentioned, where you'll get a good chance to see who's ahead of you. After you've gone around that pylon, we go Bando flying in here, into this doorway, and that's the end of the first lap. 3 laps of this, and then into a finish gate to get the point for your team. Let's go racing! STT PERPETUUMCOIN against Cyclone Racing. The 1v1 to kick it off is between Silvio and the Ice Cheetah. Now, when these 2 raced in the first matchup between them, this split, the Ice Cheetah won by 0.15 of a second. So expect this to be close. Oh, the Ice Cheetah's made a little bump there early on in the race. So currently, he's 0.4 behind. Silvio, much higher than him, as you saw there. Coming through the split S and out into the trench run. The Ice Cheetah, 0.3 of a second behind, just gained a little bit on Silvio. There's the 2 pylons underneath the railings, that's nice and tight. Now let's see who dares wins here. Through, inside the gantries, there you go. I told you it would be tight. Both of them basically taking the same route. Good, aggressive, confident start for their teams by Silvio and the Ice Cheetah. 0.3 of a second between them as they go Bando flying inside. There's the first and the second. Silvio will start lap number 2, 0.2 of a second, just ahead of the Ice Cheetah. Oh, if it's like this all the way through, what a treat to start today's racing. Tight flying from both of them. A little bit cleaner from the Ice Cheetah that time. Remember, he just came a little bit too near the wall earlier. 0.2 of a second between him and Silvio, who's high again. There are different routes to that part for both of these pilots. Into the trench run, nice and straight for both of them around the pylon. The Ice Cheetah goes under the railings and over the pipes again. Silvio gave them both a little bit more of a wider berth, going over those sets of obstacles. The Ice Cheetah's on the inside of Silvio, making it a bit tighter, being a bit daring and closing the gap just a tiny bit. He's now just over 0.1 of a second behind. It's excellent flying from both of these pilots. The Ice Cheetah's going to move in a little bit lower and tries to get in front of Silvio, and fractionally does. We'll go to lap 3 with Ice Cheetah, now less than 0.1 of a second ahead of Silvio. He's got him right in his sights. Is he put off, or is he going to make the tight exit? He does make that brilliant turn between the pylon and the obstacle. Yeah, Silvio's not put off at all. 1/10 of a second. He's coming for you. This is the higher route that we've seen him do. He's going to try and turn it into more speed. It's 1/1000th of a second between the two of them through the tunnel. So much pressure on both of these pilots, Silvio and the Ice Cheetah. Who's going to give first? We'll go to this descend now. The sweep, Silvio trying to be on the inside of the Ice Cheetah, but he's still fractionally behind him. Into the tunnel, Silvio sees him in front. It's 1/10 of a second. The Ice Cheetah swings out a little bit left. Silvio tries to cut it on the inside. A tighter turn for him, but he's still behind the Ice Cheetah as they'll go to the final building now. Surely this race is Cyclones!
Let's go!
Cheetah. Let's go!
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god.
Jesus, dude, that was so tight. You
Dude,
got
was
it.
fun.
Radio Master, let's go.
Let's go!
I wanted to make it a good race, you know what I'm saying?
saying?
Dude, that was so
You
good.
guys all.
That got my heart pumping.
My heart was pumping.
Paco's heart was pumping, the Ice Cheetah's heart was pumping, all of our hearts were pumping. What a great opening to this series. Silvio had most of 2 laps in the lead, but as you see, it was very close. And that route out of here, just look at that. Between the gantry and the pylon, and then watching out for a lamppost shortly after that, that is difficult flying. Both of these pilots were giving as good as each other. Silvio's route here, outside, inside, outside, and then inside there. That's the favoured route by a lot of pilots there. They'll take sort of half of it outside of the column and half of it darting back inside again. Silvio still in the lead at this stage. Ice Cheetah tried to move in on him here. So tight to the inside of the column, but Silvio was flying very well too. So right now, 1/10 of a second between the pair of them. But the Ice Cheetah moved past him there. Never mind any of the really technical corners. It was actually just on the dive into the oil bando section. One of the simpler parts on this otherwise really tricky course. You see there, he came out. Silvio swinging around a little bit wildly, trying to catch him. For a moment, Silvio just edged in front, but then the Ice Cheetah got there and stayed there on this run to the finish. What a race! Shrimpy Boy and Danube pick it up for STT. The Ice Cheetah stays on for Cyclone Racing alongside Zion. Now this is an interesting mix. The Ice Cheetah coming straight in for the next race, having just raced his 1v1. Everybody's very close. Shrimpy Boy just slipping a little bit on the last couple of corners, so he's just a couple of tenths behind. We're on board with Danube. High, as he always seems to be when he gets to this part of the track, and then comes down quickly and just closes the gap by a tiny bit here. You'll see the purple drones go under there. Danube goes the safer route over the top, but it still works as he makes his way to the next obstacle, almost level. It's the purple drones of Cyclone. You watch on the next 2 laps. They are much more daring on the route there, but not necessarily quicker for doing so. Danube between both of the Cyclone pilots. Going to try and underturn Zion here, and it's very good, and he just moves fractionally into the lead. Zion slipped past him again. Into the second lap. We're on board with Zion as he weaves his way through. We'll see if his route out of here is good. Oh no! Into the pylon! Oh, he tried to go that almost impossible route. Didn't manage to make it work. Shrimpy Boy is fractionally ahead of him. Now Danube chasing down the Ice Cheetah. Watch the route into the tunnel here. They'll both head very far over to the left now, and then they can swing a large right-hand turn to make it back through. And it's a little bit straighter for the Ice Cheetah. Not quite so straight for Danube. You can see every now and then, just there's a sort of more of a harder turn as he just tries to keep his drone where he wants it to be. It's smoother for the Ice Cheetah. It's nearly 0.2 of a second between them. The Ice Cheetah going wider this time. Danube trying to come in on the inside. He's taken a little bit of the time back again, but now the Ice Cheetah is starting to pull away. 0.3, third lap. Danube aggressive here as he has to be. Got to make it through that exit, and he does. The Ice Cheetah still 0.3 ahead of him, maybe even slightly more now. Behind Danube is Zion, but he's 1 and a bit seconds behind him. Shrimpy Boy is at the back as he has been a few times this season. He's not going to get this point, you would think. Over to the left to swing right again. Danube on the chase of the Ice Cheetah. He's already at the right level. The Ice Cheetah comes up and flies through the inside. Again, Danube has to just swing it a little bit harder a couple of times. It's not quite so fluid. Oh, and he's hit the top of the second of the Torval gates, and that's what I say about these tunnels. They might look easy,
You're clear.
but if you get caught out in the middle of it, it's so hard to find your way back through. The Ice Cheetah thanks his teammates for telling him about the crash and seals the race.
Beautiful
Good
show.
shit.
Let's go, guys. Let's go.
Oh, he
Oh man, they're
double shifts.
shaking in their boots now.
Yeah, dude, let's go.
Zion's very happy with his second place then, thinks they made a bit of a statement. It's another point for the Ice Cheetah. Great performance from him. It was a pretty strong start for everybody. The Ice Cheetah was in the lead for a while at the start, then Zion got past him and tried to get that point for his own records. See the Ice Cheetah flying with Danube for very close company. And you'll see outside and inside and through, and outside and inside and through, as the green drones were trying to do too. Danube got in front of him here, then we headed up to the pylon turn. And the Ice Cheetah got into the lead there, and that dive at the start of the next lap. Danube was very much still in the fight, just slipping second, third in his battle with Zion, who we're looking at now. He's coming up to a mistake here where he tries to cut through and hits the pylon instead. That is so tight, so difficult. Here on lap number 3, Danube pushing for that lead, giving it everything he's got. He's done this really tricky part here. Then he's just too high on the first, hits the second, hits a pole, recovers from there, hits the fourth, spinning the wrong way, comes out of that, clips it again. Oh, he'll want to forget about that one. Silvio and HYG will now take on J-Box and Paco. So we're meeting all the rest of the team members who haven't yet flown. Silvio was in the 1v1, but here's HYG from Korea. And then Paco and J-Box we haven't seen yet. And we're on board with Paco. Now when these teams met earlier on in the season, Paco wasn't in that battle. They flew with Astronaut instead. So we're seeing what Paco can do against the green team of SDT. He's in third. J-Box and Silvio switching the lead back and forth between them at the moment. Silvio's right now in second, going to take the higher route. Oh, a little bit of a twitch again. Inside he goes. J-Box goes inside as well. J-Box has been a terrific performer for Cyclone Racing since the beginning of the season. And his teammate Paco has just moved up past Silvio as well. So it's 1-2 for Cyclone at the moment. Silvio swings in tightly here. Barely anything between the two pilots in second and third. J-Box over a half a second out in the lead. But let's concentrate on this battle right now as Silvio and Paco start weaving their way around. They'll see J-Box a little bit closer than he was. Paco on the inside of that turn, on the inside of this one too. We can't see Silvio now as he's high again, as he usually is. Silvio's going to dive down across the front of Paco, whose split S is nicely in there. Into the tunnel, left-hand side, swing out on the right. Paco tries to make it a bit tighter. J-Box, meanwhile, flying nice and smoothly, it seems, at the front, like there's nothing going on. Oh, no, into the columns. He was untroubled by anybody, but he's just got all kinds of tangled up in there, fighting his way back out of that. Silvio has fought his way into the lead. Nearly half a second between him and this guy, Paco, as they're coming into the buildings and around the end of the second lap. SDT with a lead now over Paco, and then HYG and J-Box a bit too far behind to do anything about it. Silvio runs up, runs past the pylon, dives out of that split S and is trying to get away. 0.6 of a second. He heads on the straight bit. He's high up again. Paco can't see him again. Now he can. Diving down across the front of him. Paco, oh, maybe coming in a little bit too soon and not so smoothly out. He's lost 0.2 of a second. He's going to go over the pylon this time, trying to stay a bit higher, like Silvio does. Silvio's going to lead him around the column. Into the tunnel now, which tripped them up earlier. Silvio's clean through that. Paco is as well. Silvio with 1 second of a lead now, though. He's pulled away, goes for the dive inside. Clean turns, clean dive for the finish, and a point on the board for SDT.
Va. Que se puede.
Buah, me la jugué en las dos primeras que pensé que me chocaba.
Habrá un full cent para ganar esta.
A very important point for SDT PERPETUUMCOIN. Congrats to Silvio, pulling one back for the team. 2-1 as we'll head into the big heat next. But first, let's take a look at all the action out of the blocks there. Everybody's so close. J-Box flying very nicely through the split S's here and was in the lead for a while. And if you've seen his other performances this season, you may well have been thinking he was going to win this race outright from that position, as he has been scoring so many points for the team. In the top 10 of all of our pilots, 14 wins already. Here, Silvio was just slipping past him early in the second lap. J-Box goes up into the tower, untroubled at this point by all of the other pilots, and just caught himself out on the inside and could not get himself free. Never featured in the competition for a point after that stage. Silvio here wraps it up. And they needed that one. Now it's the DCL Big Heat. All 8 pilots, all flying at the same time. 1 point to the winner. STT PERPETUUMCOIN would love to tie up the series, but first we're all going to weave with 1/10 of a second between all 8 pilots. Absolutely fantastic. Everybody weaves over the train, and some pilots start to show what they can do. Paco is almost a second behind at the back now. Let's take a look from Silvio's view of Danube, the green drone in front, where he's going. Danube is down the middle this time. They've been flying on the left of that tunnel a lot to swing out to the right. This time Danube was just a little bit straighter down the centre. And look at that, all 8 drones on your screen at the same time, all weaving their way around the spirals into the tunnel. Silvio still with Danube in front of him, Zion and J-Box in the lead, making that turn first. So close between all those pilots, half a second between 5 of them at the moment. A couple of STT pilots and Paco for Cyclone just losing their grip on this race right now. Silvio at the front will cut inside the cone here, and he makes it work as he now is trying to get up to the front of it. Danube's there at the moment, J-Box between them. The Ice Cheetah hovering around, Zion not out of this picture either. Those 5 pilots still really tight together. Silvio will see Danube again go down the middle, then to the left for that right-hand turn. I think it's subtle, but I think there's a change of approach there for the green drones. Now inside the columns, outside. Inside! Silvio, no! Silvio's caught out. Everybody else in front of you is doing it. Everybody behind you is going to try and do it. You've got to give it a go. And that now leaves Danube as the only fighter in green capable of taking this race away from Cyclone. Danube just in front of him. The Ice Cheetah just flying in from underneath as well. J-Box still the leader of all of these. So close together. Onto the third and final lap now. We go for this cut through. Then the split S, we come back out of that. Zion hanging on to third place. Slipping past Danube just briefly. Will he keep it on this turn? He's underneath him at the moment. Danube will come diving down, and he's not in front of Zion yet. Let's see if he goes for this really low approach here. He is! Through the first of the railings. Now diving onto the inside of the column, giving it absolutely everything he can to try and stay ahead of Danube. But there he is. The green drone is back. J-Box is still in the lead. Danube needs to catch both of them. He's in front of Zion. We're on board with him. There's only a couple of turns left. Can he outturn J-Box? Can he get the point that STT wants tied up in front of him? Well, it's not just J-Box, it's a wall.
Let's go, J-Box.
Hell yeah, guys.
Oh, let's go,
Yeah,
J-Box.
let's go.
Let's go, J-Box.
All right.
Paco tries to calm them all down. J-Box getting the point out of the big heat. What a battle. So close at the beginning. Look at that, 1/10 of a second between absolutely everybody in this big heat. Danube trying to fly it cleanly all the way through. Silvio trying to fly it cleanly all the way through. And those are the pilots for STT who have been scoring so many points in previous seasons. Danube, I always praise him. He's the captain of the team at a very young age. And he's a fantastic pilot who has absolutely held that team together in previous seasons. So confident and so important to them for scoring points. Silvio has had a great season, really blossomed into it this year. J-Box we've seen before with China Dragons, but here with Cyclone, his teammates are following his lead and they are working so well together. Silvio coming down there in the column, going back in, hitting it again, and that just puts you off so badly. From this point on, it was all down to Danube in second place to try and do anything about the point, but that wall... that cost him a few places, but there's only 1 point in it, and that's the winners, and that's Cyclones. Danube comes back, HYG, and the Ice Cheetah and Paco are in the race that STT must win now, this 5th heat. If they don't, Cyclone are going to win the duel, 4 points to 1. And remember, STT beat Cyclone 4 points to 3 when they met earlier in this split season. Danube and HYG, currently, early in the race, ahead of both of the Cyclone pilots. We're on board with the Ice Cheetah, who's trying to slip past both of them. He's got HYG, and now he's chasing down Danube, staying low under both of the railings. An even tighter route for him, so confident. Following Danube out of there, throttle up, and away we go through the 4 Torval gates. 7/100ths of a second between the Ice Cheetah and Danube. Now we go diving inside, which the Ice Cheetah seems to be maybe a little bit more confident about. And he's almost pushed up for the lead. Not quite got it just yet. 2/100ths of a second now between him and Danube. These technical turns, they're both so good at it. Danube went a little bit wider for the split S. The Ice Cheetah went a little bit more direct. 1/10 of a second between both of them. Danube with his usual route, high and wide to turn it into an attacking dive here, and he tries to move closer to the Ice Cheetah. Behind him, Paco is trying to hang on to him, and HYG is a little bit further behind him, fourth. Danube follows him to the columns. Can't afford to make any mistakes here. It's still only the second lap, but if you make a mistake in this column and get tangled up in there or in this tunnel, then you can think the Ice Cheetah is probably going to get away and you won't see him again. Danube on the inside turn. Now swings to cut to the Bando dive. 18 hundredths of a second between him and the Ice Cheetah. He's been following him for a while now. You can just imagine the pressure starting to build, knowing he's got to get in front of him. And he has. Danube into the lead now by a tiny amount. The Ice Cheetah back in front of him. Over and wide the turn. The Ice Cheetah in view. Diving, attacking down into the tunnel. Still the Ice Cheetah in view. 2/10 of a second. Less than a lap to do it in. Heading towards these columns, the most trickiest part of the circuit, and you've got to take all the risks now. And Danube, it's good. It's not that smooth, but the Ice Cheetah is still very, very close to him. 15 hundredths of a second. The end of the race is looming. Danube makes the pylon turn. 1/10 of a second. He is gaining on him. Coming for the final part into the building with the Ice Cheetah still in the lead.
Let's go.
Oh, let's go, Cheetah.
We did it.
Nice.
Let's go. We got it. Cyclone.
And the win is another point for the Ice Cheetah and for Cyclone Racing. What some battles we have been treated to by these two teams, both when they met earlier this season and today. Superb racing from these pilots. Now take a look at the obstacle coming up. Once they've weaved their way around here, look, the Ice Cheetah goes right. It's a different route to Danube, who went to the left. Both of them still making it work, of course. Danube trying to turn on the inside. HYG, his teammate, was at the back and having a little bit of a bumpy time on the split S there. He'll come over and try and split S this one and come out between that tiny exit, which he's managed to do. Here's Danube's attack towards the end, but just couldn't catch the Ice Cheetah. A lot of pressure on both of those pilots. They handled it so well. Cyclone Racing get their revenge. And there's a very close battle between these two teams for that place in the split finals, so they'll be thrilled getting this one 4-1. Well done to the Ice Cheetah, who got 3 points. J-Bot's got 1 for Cyclone. Elsewhere, Haven managed to stay ahead of Alpha Prop Racing. Quad Force 1 will be very excited to beat Mach 1 4-0. You'll see why. China Dragons had a really good battle with the wildcard team, and that keeps their hopes of staying in the top of the leaderboard alive. And Xblades, the former world champions, beat the team who took the title from them. Raiden Racing beat them 4-1 though, and that 1 is very important because it means at the top of the leaderboard, they're tied again with Quad Force 1. They got 1 point ahead of them last week. Now they're all tied up again. Raiden in third, China Dragons in fourth. Cyclone were a point behind STT PerpetuumCoin, but beating them 4-1 now has actually moved them past them. And remember, if you're in 6th place, a little bit more dangerous. It's only the top 6 teams who will go to our live split finals very, very soon. On race day 12, Mach 1 will race Cyclone, Alpha Prop Racing will try and also beat STT PerpetuumCoin. The wildcard team are currently hovering outside that top 6 for the split finals. They'll have to beat the joint leaders Quad Force 1 if they want to do anything about that position. Haven will race China Dragons, and turns out we get our rematch as Raiden and Xblades face each other for the second time. Keep up to date on all the news on our social channels. I'm Matt Andrews. Join us next week. We'll see you in the skies.